right. Good morning and welcome. This is Andrew with Flair, and today we're just hosting an Ask Me Anything, an AMA. If you guys have any questions for us that you'd like answered, it could be about the 58, it could be about one of our other models, could be about anything, but keep it clean and keep it fun and safe, please. We'll have somebody helping me in checking the comments. We're live streaming at this moment, hopefully, both at Facebook and on YouTube, and possibly in the Brew with Flair group. And hopefully, if you guys have any questions, though, put them in the comments. We had requested a few early on, and so I'll sort of open up and start with that. And then, of course, if you come in late, you can always watch this another time to see what you've missed. So hopefully you're hanging out with us now, and if not, again, this will be saved in the YouTube channel in the live stream section, and also should be on the Facebook page for Flair, so you can rewatch it anytime. Let me just make sure everything is running all right here before I start going. What's up, Mickey? I think you're always number one. You're always the first to join us. And Mode, thank you for joining us. Let's see, that is in the Facebook group. Do we have anybody on YouTube? We do. Good morning, Eduardo. And I did. Hi from Johor, Malaysia. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. It must be late for you guys. Appreciate you coming in. And I will go ahead and start with the questions that I had, because there's some good ones in there already. Actually, let me start with probably the number one question that I keep seeing in the groups, also at service and on Instagram and the DMs. When will the 58s and the 58Xs ship from the California fulfillment for October? Honest truth is that container has been at port for, I think, 3 weeks now. It was out in the water for a while. We finally got it off the water and onto dry land, but it's been pushed into an area that is inaccessible for trucks. So every day we're checking with them and trying to figure out, can we come, can we send a driver? As you probably all know by now, probably from us and just reading the news, there's a lot of issues with getting containers in from the water onto the land and then from the land to where they need to go. It's become such a problem that everybody's being charged now, because obviously for a while there, the containers were coming in and they were sitting out at the water and not able to come in. And that's causing them to take big losses every day, because they can't get that ship to go back to where it needs to go to load up and come back again. And so for a while there, they were bearing the cost, and now they're passing it on to their customers like Flair. So we want this as quick as we can, because we're going to be paying for every day that it sits out on the water, and then for every day that it sits at the port, and on and on and on. They're starting to pass the costs along from the businesses to the customers, the services to the customers. So it's in everybody's best interest to get these moving along, but unfortunately, we check every day with our contact at the Port Authority, and every day it's the same answer. It's been in an inaccessible area for weeks now. So as soon as we can get those going, we will. Promise you that that is something that we want to get going. The other thing I wanted to mention too is tomorrow, Friday through Saturday, wait, let's see, I think it's Saturday. You'll see it tomorrow, but basically we have a sale through flairespresso.com for Halloween. So if you're looking to pick up one of these models or a Royal Grinder, it doesn't apply to the 58s, because as you might have noticed, we have such a hard time just filling the demand. We're not going to be able to discount a product that we can't even get to ship out until we have enough of them. So the sales will be on the other lineup, the other 4 models, as well as a Royal. It starts tomorrow, 15% off. So check that out if you're interested. Let me just see real quick. Looks like everything's still good. Want to make sure that we have a healthy stream. And we get going. Thanks, Mickey. Share your link. All right, so let's see. A couple of questions that we got earlier is, we have 2 questions from I can't see it all here, but anyways, wants to know about the Pro. If you wanted to increase, let's see. If you wanted to increase the extraction on a Pro 2, what steps would you follow? And then the other question that he asked, or she asked, sorry if that's the case, was, what are the pros and cons of having a deeper coffee puck on a Pro 2? So for context, for those of you that are unfamiliar with why they're asking about the Pro 2 and what might be different and why it's a deeper puck, so this is our signature classic Neo standard portafilter, and this is a little bit narrower than this one. And then on and on, if you go up in basket size, so this is a 58, if you were to have a 56 or 54, or 53 or 49 or whatever it is you have, as you start to get a narrower basket, that same 18 grams needs more room in the vertical area to actually fill in the basket. So an 18 gram dose here will look a lot different than an 18 gram dose here. You're going to have a thinner puck here and a deeper puck here, and so on, as you go from a wider basket, 58, on down to our 40 millimeter. And so what happens is you're grinding a little bit coarser. As you add more coffee, you're building resistance there. And so you can't have that same finer grind that you use here to work with the narrower basket. So are there pros and cons? I think so. A lot of people will tell you with the deeper baskets, you're going to have a little bit more flexibility for your grinder. So if you don't have a grinder that can grind fine enough, you're going to struggle with being able to create the resistance you need in the 58. A lot of people that picked up the 58 or 58X from having the pros or the signatures have noticed that they have to grind substantially finer for that shallower puck, and some of their grinders are just not there. Or they can grind fine enough, but then if they go one click coarser because maybe too fine and it's choking or too slow, I saw that comment in the Brew with Flair group today. When they grind too fine on, say, like a Comandante with red clicks, it's running maybe a minute for them. And then if they go one click coarser, it's running 45 seconds. And they want something in between those two. And having a deeper puck allows you to now use dose as your resistance when your grinder doesn't quite have the flexibility that you need. So that's an advantage to the deeper puck, is a little bit more flexibility. Also, there's some thoughts or theories that having more coffee means you're less likely to channel through the middle of the puck, because you have more coffee that can kind of fill in any kind of cracks going on. If you have a really thin puck and you get a crack, it's just going to pull apart and you're just going to have water pushing through that channel. And it's really hard to sort of repair or heal that. There's ways to kind of do that with pressure to sort of back off if you start to see a channel coming through the middle. But with the deeper puck, you're going to have more coffee in that bed, and hopefully it can kind of heal those channels a little bit better. So that's another possibility. Another thing would be just in general, you're going to have a little bit more, I would say, people say it's a little bit more forgiving in general from everything from your puck prep to your grinder to everything, because again, in general, you have more coffee substrate in there and just a little bit lesser chances of channeling. What you might find though, however, is that you'll have more channeling around these sides. The deeper the puck, that water needs to get through the coffee bed, but it will find it to go easier along the outside of the basket. So as you add more coffee and grind finer, it's going to block the water a little bit more going through the center, and then the water is going to try to go along the sides, because that's pretty slippery in there, that steel, and then the coarse, gritty grind will make that water go down the side. So then you have to, say, go with a lighter tamp or a lower dose. So that's a strategy, and that, I think, leads on to the next question for improving extraction on that. If you're going to have a deeper basket, maybe use a lower dose. So try to go as low as you can before you find out that you've gone too low. On the Pro, there's a little bit of a tapering there, so you can't push that tamper in too far down, or there's a point where you're going to hit the taper. So you have to at least have as much coffee in there as you need based on your coffee choice to be able to get a good tamp on that. But I would argue that you want to go with a little bit lighter tamp. The harder you tamp, the harder the water is going to have a time going through the center, and it's going to go around the side. So if you start to see a lot of side channeling around the side of the puck, go a little bit lower on your dose and a little bit coarser on your grind, and maybe a little bit lighter on your tamp. These are all kind of strategies. The other question in there, or the other part of that question, I guess, was how to improve the extraction. I must get a better extraction, more extraction. I assume that they are talking about using a refractometer and getting higher numbers, more TDS, that kind of thing. And so again, grinding a little bit coarser to allow the water to go through the middle as opposed to the channel, a lower dose, making it easier for the water to go through. Also keep in mind, the more coffee that you put in there, the water hitting the top is going to be hotter than the water getting to the bottom. So that taller puck means you're going to be under extracting the coffee at the lower part of that puck and maybe extracting enough or over extracting the top. So the lower the dose, the thinner your puck, the more even your extraction. Also pressure too, think about it. You've got atmospheric pressure down here. You've got anywhere from 6 to 10 bars up here. you're basically extracting that puck at different pressures all along the way through. So the thinner your puck, the more likely that you're getting that same pressure through the whole puck, or at least less of a variance from the top to the bottom. So these are all things you can do in terms of increasing your TDS, that sort of thing. As far as extraction, also if you meant the yield, like how much you can get in the cup, your coffee is going to absorb some of that water. So we have a fixed chamber here. So with the Flair 58, it's about 100 mil fill, and on the Pro, it's about 70, and on the Standard, it's about 60. So you can take that number and subtract your dose. So if you're using, say, 20 gram for easy reference, and the 70, so you're not going to get a shot that's bigger than 50-ish, because for every gram of coffee, you're going to absorb about a milliliter or so, a gram of the water. So you're just going to have that limitation. So the less coffee you use, the less absorbing will happen, and the more water will pass through and into your cup. So that's another thing there. Let's see. I think there was another question in there. Piston squeaky. Let's see. My piston still squeaks after 2 months of use. It also turns a bit. Oh, and it cuts off, and I can't get the rest of it. I'm noticing that I'm not getting all these questions, so sorry about that. As far as piston squeaky on a Pro, I think that's what he said. Lubrication works, guys. If you naturally lubricate if you're using it several times a day, you're going to naturally lubricate your O-rings. If you're finding that it's still squeaky, then you can take, this is Molykote 101, I think 111, wait, 111 or 101? Sometimes I mix that up, 111. So Molykote 111 from Dow Corning, and you can lubricate these O-rings to get them to squeak less or to move smoother. Again, the more you use it, the more smoother it will be. If you go to clean these, you're going to need to reapply that. If you don't have that, you can use just a light vegetable oil or something to kind of lubricate, and then wipe off the excess, and then run it through, a couple times like this, just to get the lubrication through the whole thing. Another question on Instagram was the steamer. Yes, we're working on the steamer. It's still in development. It's not going to be here in 2021, so 2022 is the goal. So yes, it's going to be a stovetop standalone, not a standalone, a stovetop steamer. You will have to put it on a burner, a hob, electric, fire, hopefully induction if we get that to work. But it's going to be one of those stovetops, not electric. Generally speaking, Flair is all manual. We kind of added electricity, preheat for the 58, but that's sort of an exception, I'd say, to the rule of what we're doing here. Everything is meant to be used to be portable, to use on a gas, so you can, in the woods, make your coffee. And you wouldn't be able to do that if it were electric steamer. It would only work when you have power. And sometimes you lose power, or sometimes you're camping, or sometimes you're traveling. So we won't be going down the electric route. Let's see. See if my girl Haley has helped me out with some questions. Oh, there was another one. I remember on Facebook, but let me just see what we got going here. Oh yeah, we've got a few. So that's the one. Oh, so here's a good one. Someone asked about if I want to make fraps, or somebody who really likes to have a big, tall beverage, lots of sweetness, using milk or non-dairy, hitting it with some syrups, that sort of thing. They were looking at the 58, they were looking at the Pro, and they were wondering what works best for them. And does it even matter, the quality-wise? Because really you're going to be hitting it with so much milk and sugar, you're really not going to get to taste the espresso as much. And that's true. There's no getting away around that. The question, though, that they also asked was, I probably want 3 or 4 shots. That's going to be a lot of caffeine, and it's going to be a little bit more work. Let's just say a lot more work on a Pro or the standards in general, because depending on how fast you work and how quick you so a workflow for that, I would grind all my coffee, get it ready to go, have it, so that I don't have to grind each time I'm pulling a shot. Ideally, you might want to get a couple extra portafilters on hand so that you can prep them, and then you can just basically lock and load, pull a shot, fill it up, lock and load, and just keep going. You don't want to have to go through the entire prep all over again, take the basket, clean it out, dry it, load it, distribute the coffee, that kind of thing. So in that case, I would say probably the 58. It's not for the quality per se that I'm suggesting it, but for the ease of use. It's a lot easier when this all stays together to prep this basket with the coffee that's pre-ground and then just keep pulling shots. Also, you'll be able to use baskets that are much larger. So you could put a triple or I think they even make quadruples. You can put a huge basket in here if you're looking for a stronger shot. You know, if you want that flavor, you can put, say, 24, 26 grams, maybe 28. And so you'd be able to pull larger volume shots with this one and maybe only do this twice as opposed to 3 times with the Pro. So I would say the 58 for that type of thing. As far as quality, I think if you're using good coffee, you're always going to, you know, specialty coffee that hasn't been too darkly roasted, if that's not your jam. If you don't, you know, some people would say like a commodity coffee or coffee that's roasted too dark starts to taste a little bit ashy, charcoal, maybe even like burnt or bitter or smoky. These are all flavors what you hear more like for chocolatey and nutty tones. If you like it on that spectrum, then yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter what you're using as far as quality wise, because if the coffee is going to taste like that, it's going to taste like that no matter which machine you use. But if you're actually looking for, say, third wave or specialty or coffee with other more nuanced notes to it, then you're going to appreciate having a better machine. You could do that with any of the Flairs, of course. They all work well for the specialty coffee. But as far as, I guess the first question is, what coffee will you be running through these? And maybe you don't need any of these. Maybe you need an espresso or something else that's just convenience-wise, or something that it doesn't matter so much with the quality of the coffee, where you could buy something quite a bit cheaper. The Neo would be a good solution for an inexpensive way to make that if you're going to use a dark roasted coffee, and it doesn't really matter because it's just a little bit easier and faster. You don't have to be as particular with the prep because it's got that flow control that's doing all the work for you. So no matter how sloppy you are with your puck prep, that flow control is only going to allow that come through so fast so you get that time and pressure you need for a decent extraction. Let's see. I think that was it for the Instagram, and let's see. Uh-oh, video is frozen. Uh-oh. Hope that doesn't keep going. Let's see. Is that still happening? Huh. That's terrible. Well, I don't know what to do right now. Let's try this again. Stop, start. And now I can't get Facebook to get going. That's too bad. Let's see. Well, I don't know if you're back with me, but I got YouTube back on, but for whatever reason, Facebook doesn't want to work out. So sorry for the issues. Let's see. All right, so I've got, looks like I'm back on YouTube, and now I'm going to try to get Facebook to go back to that. So the live stream ended, so I'll have to start that again, and we'll be right back to this. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. Let's just see how I can quickly get them back if we can. Go live. Hang tight. Technical difficulties. Looks like Flair needs to invest in some better equipment. Cobbled together. This is how it goes sometimes. Doing our best. Streaming. Go live right now. Hopefully. And it's not working out. Why is that not working out? Oh, required title. Live stream. See if that works. That's not working. Embarrassing. Why is it not coming on? The video source is required. Yes, I know that. And I'm trying. Let's see, broadcasting. All right, Facebook. And I see myself. All right, let's see what other questions I can answer while I'm trying to get this to go. I don't know why it's not working out. You see me on Facebook now? All right, that's good. No, that's old. What is the brew head diameter, or what size kettle will hold the brew head with the 58X? So I've been using the Stag for most of those videos, as you probably saw, and I think this is 3.5 inches for, but you don't really have to worry about it too much because you can see that this will cover just about anything. So anything like 3.5 to 4.5 should work out somewhere in there. I'd have to measure that to get you the correct answer, but I believe anywhere in 3 to 4 should work, 4.5 for that. And I don't know why I can't get the live stream to go. Let's see, happening now. It just does not want to start. All right, so sorry for those of you that joined us on Facebook. It looks like I can't figure out how to get us going again for some reason. I don't understand that. You're back on, yeah, I am back on YouTube, but not this one. Might just be something to do with the fact that I'm still in the wrong. All right, one last effort. Guys, sorry about that. I'm just going to start a brand new stream on that page, and then we'll go from there. And then hopefully that will work out. Create a post. And go live. Hopefully. Oh, you're kidding me. Not an option. All right. Sorry, everybody on Facebook. I'm going to have to give up on this. It doesn't appear to be wanting to work with me today. I don't know why. All right. So back to YouTube. Guys, thanks for joining me here. I'll just tell them, please go to our YouTube channel, Flair Espresso. All right. Let's see. One-man show. Is there nobody else to help me? Nope, nobody else to help me on this side. It is one-man show. I'm in Colorado. The company's in California. So there's no one here. I need to figure that one out. Do you recommend popping the shower screen off? I feel like the cons outweigh the pros. Basically, when it comes to, so if you're going to use the valve plunger with the 58 or 58X, you have to have that screen removed because the plunger goes further down into the brew head. Let me see if I have that in here. Oh, so currently I have the screen here. So I guess I can show you all real quick how to take that out if you want to pop it out. So you push down here with your fingers and it pops right out. You could do it other ways, but that works well enough. And then you just come in here and wiggle this up and out, and then you get the screen out and set that aside. This is the old plunger, and this is the new plunger. You can see it's a little bit taller. Also, it's got a chamfered angled edge. This will now go through the bottom and protrude just a little bit before it stops. So you can see that it protrudes just a little bit before it stops. So you can't have that screen there anymore. So if you've done that, if you've updated to the valve plunger, you don't have a choice. You have to get rid of that. And then of course you have to start using the puck screen. If you don't have that, you could get away with some paper filters, but this is reusable and more reliable and recommended, some kind of puck screen. As far as pros and cons, if you haven't done the valve and you're just asking, should I remove it? I assume you have a puck screen or paper or some other way to protect the water, because if you pour in the water while there's no screen above, then you're going to put divots and the coffee's going to, float up. So what happens here when you add water and your portafilter is locked in is you have generally with this in place a air gap. The water will not penetrate that screen when you pour it through the top. So the headspace, however high you have that coffee filled in, is your headspace between that and the shower. So that will create an air gap. Air, when you start to lower this lever, you'll feel that it's a little easy and soft at the top if you have an air gap or any air in the chamber that you've left in there because you didn't fill it so that the water fills the well. You'll feel it a little bit soft and spongy at the top. I don't know that that changes anything on the performance, but it is possibly something that you do or do not appreciate having. So if you remove that dispersion screen and start using your puck screen, you're going to fill the entire chamber, and from the very top, from the very start, when you start to pull that lever, you're going to feel it pressurizing immediately because water is not compressible, air is. So for that air to compress, you're going to end up lowering that lever with not much feedback until you've compressed the air, and then you're going to push that air and water through the puck. So that's one thing. The other thing is if you have this sitting there, when you purge the water, because you're going to have some water still in here that you need to purge. When you lift this lever, you're going to pull some water that was sitting right here on the coffee bed. There could be some coffee particles there, and it's going to, in some cases, get through the screen and up into this area. So then you're going to have to remove your plunger and clean out periodically if you're using this and not one of these. Now, if you have this and this, you're not going to have the coffee coming up from the bed and into the area of the portafilter. So if you have that, you're probably good that way as well. Some of us just like having it a little bit firmer and one less thing to worry about or deal with. So as far as like whether or not it's going to change the way your espresso tastes, I don't think so. It's just going to be, again, you're so quote unquote kind of wasting some of that stroke to compress the air. So if you want it firm from the top down, you want to remove that. The idea there was, if you didn't have this, if you didn't want to use this, you could get away with just your screen and your coffee. But then we found out that people were using this for other reasons. It also helps to keep things clean, but also improves extraction in general. And so when you start using the puck screen, there's really not a good reason, I think, to keep the dispersion screen around. All right, I've created a mess. What other questions do we have? Oh, I'm frozen again. All right, this is a little bit annoying. Sorry, I think I'm back. And it looks like I've got some problems with my software, or it's the switcher. I'm gonna have to test this. But unfortunately, I can't test it until I get going. Audio pops and static, and then you freeze. All right, thanks for that. Let me see what other questions I have while I still have you. And then I'm gonna have to probably call it because it's not working out so well. Is the SEP compatible with the 58? Does it need a modification? SEP is compatible. This is the SEP Smart Espresso Profiler from the guys at Naked Portafilter. You will find them selling these ready to go. This is a G1/8 inch tap, and it works. Well, they can get these to work with the Pros as well and the Signatures as well as the 58. It's ready to go, no modification. So yes, SEP works directly with that. Let me get this out of my way. What other questions do we have here? What capacity in the 58 brew head and largest possible dose? So I mentioned that earlier, the capacity and the dose. Please rewatch the stream. Can you show the tolerance of the Pro 2? Well, to be fair, you might have froze during that time. So the capacity is about 100 mils for fill, and you can put a basket in there that can hold maybe 28 grams of coffee, and so that's roughly 1 gram of coffee is going to absorb about 1 gram of water, so that kind of tells you what you're actually going to get in the cup when it's all said and done. How would you dial in filter roast? That's a good question. I have something to mention about that. So I got in yesterday some good coffee from Brandywine Coffee Roasters. And what's interesting is both of these are described as espresso blends. They're both blends, but they're roasted differently and possibly using a different origin. I can't say what the one is because they don't mention on the bag, but let's talk about that real quick. So again, these are both described as espresso blends, which suggests that they've been engineered, designed to work well for espresso, for that concentrated small beverage. But when you read the back, they have different descriptions. And let's see. Here's one, the Galactic Standard. So this, I would say, probably is the more quote-unquote traditional darker roast. Not darker roast, but a little bit, medium probably. I haven't actually opened these up yet, so I'd have to take a look. It's my first time trying. But these are fun bags, by the way. I think you can tell, they really go all out with their illustrations. They're awesome, and then their descriptions are fun too. It's a universally awesome espresso blend that will produce shots of stardust. Not sure how that's going to taste. Space magic in your cup. This espresso can stand on its own or take your milk drinks in another galaxy. So that tells you right there that this is the one that they're thinking you're going to want if you want it for, say, a latte or cappuccino. And this one here, or standalone, as I said, this one here, a modern intergalactic study of sweetness that beams delicious to mouths all around the galaxy. So there's already been a little bit of tells in their description that if I'm going to do a milky drink, I'll probably choose this one. If I'm looking more for the origin, terroir, the flavors, maybe a lighter, I'll probably choose this one. And then you go down, it says, what do they taste? Honeysuckle, nutmeg, peach. That tells me it's probably a lighter roast as well. And this one, mixed berries, smooth syrup. The syrup, probably a tell that it's going to be a little bit, more of, like we said, for the milk drinks, that kind of thing. Something is probably more of a medium roast. So I think the reason I brought that up was because there was a question in there, and I don't see it. Uh-oh, did I freeze again? I hope not. No, it looks like I'm moving around on the screen, I think. Just a few technical. All right, in surround sound, please get back to me by DM. The audio pops I don't think have anything to do with my microphone or the setup. I think that has to do with the software. I'm not touching any of the cables or connections. But anyways, I would appreciate some help later on so I don't have this to deal with before. But I think I'm good, right? Light roast. No, it's okay. You're good. Just still pops. Oh, still pops. Huh. Not sure why. When I test these out, it sounds good, but I think something in that switcher is causing this issue. Anyways, back to choosing coffees and how would you prepare these. So you're going to have to change things like the grind setting. You're going to have to consider maybe changing the dose, maybe the yield. The lighter the roast, I'm generally using less coffee. The less coffee you use, the less coffee that is going to be absorbing the energy, the more chances that, again, back to earlier when I talked about being able to use less coffee allows you to have the same temperature and pressure at the top, closer to the bottom versus the taller your puck, the more there's going to be a delta or a variance between the two. And so the less coffee you use there, the more chances that you're going to be able to extract through that bed better. Also, you'll be able to have bigger yields because, again, we have a constraint of the amount of water you go through, and you're probably going to want to pull a lighter roast with more volume. So less coffee, more volume, more water going through for higher extraction. These are all things that I'd be thinking about. Maybe some pre-infusion, let that soak in a little bit before I pull the shot. Versus, say, the darker roast, I'll be able to grind that a little bit coarser. I probably can use a little bit more coffee. I can probably use a more restricted yield, so maybe more 1 to 2, whereas this might be 1 to 3 or somewhere in between. These are all sort of strategies. Also, if I know I'm going to use this in milk, I'm going to restrict it a little bit more. So because I want to taste, I want to have that coffee that they say like sort of cut through the milk. The espresso cuts through the milk. You still taste the espresso there. It doesn't get overwhelmed by the volume of milk or sweeteners and other things you're going to use. So those are all strategies for choosing the coffee. These are both considered blends. At least that's what I'm seeing. This one is a washed Colombian and a natural Ethiopian. This one doesn't tell me. But these are all also things that I might look into to decide what I might like, because the different terroirs lend different characteristics, and whether you're going to drink it neat or straight versus something with milk, that will help too. All right, what else we got? Hello from Argentina. Hello. Thanks for your efforts. Yeah, sorry guys. I will eventually get this worked out, but I'm sorry for the issues and having to restart these. I can't say right now if it's the software running here or if it's the switcher over there, but I'll have to get to that. How would you dial in filter? I think I already answered that. Filter roast. So filter, by the way, if that's an unfamiliar term, filter just suggests that it's probably a lighter roast, a harder bean, a denser bean, a higher grown bean. These are all kind of, when you're doing a filter roast, you're looking for more clarity and more of those florals or fruity or berry type of flavors. Whereas and that's a lighter roast generally, and so the lighter the roast, the more work you need to do with energy and all the rest, grind finer and lower doses and more water for extraction. Whereas the darker roasts, they're ready to give up their material, the stuff you want, so you don't have to use as hot a water, you don't have to use as fine a grind, you don't have to spend as much time with the pre-infusion. You can do a more restricted beverage because you don't have to push more water through the coffee to keep working on getting out the coffee material, the good stuff. Let's see, how would you dial in? Do I have any new questions in my chat? How would you dial? Does the soft rubber feet on the Flair 58 mess up the scale readings? Does the soft rubber feet of the 58 mess up the scale readings? Your scales shouldn't be affected by what's going on with the 58 base or the rubber feet, because your scale should be sitting somewhere in the middle, not touching the sides. And if your table is stable and not moving, and if your scale, so for instance, I don't know if there's another brand out there that does this, but the Akaya, basically they say it's kind of flipped. I don't have another scale to show you, but basically, if the side of your weigh pan touches the side here, it's registering something. So if you kind of push on that with an Akaya scale, you'll see things moving around. And so if you have it in there and it's touching the side, either this or if you have your drip tray in there, then you're going to have that going crazy, it's not going to be tracking the weight well. So make sure it's not touching the sides. But the base has nothing to do with that. It may be on like the Signatures, Classics, and Pros, where the pan is actually connected to the base. If the base is moving, maybe it's affecting it. But I haven't seen, that takes a very, very delicate, very sensitive load cell, like the ones that you find on the Kaya, that would be moving like that. So I assume that's probably what they have. Ideal dose for the Pro 2. Grind setting for advice for the Sete. So the thing that I would say with that is don't use anyone's numbers. One thing I don't know if I mentioned, I think I did though, is each of these coffees I'm going to be grinding differently. So I don't know what coffee you're using. I can't tell you what number because I'm going to make adjustments on my grinder over here based on a lighter roast or a darker roast, or how much coffee I'm using. So if I'm using 16 or 20 grams, I'm going coarser with the 20 grams and I'm going finer with the 16 grams. I'm going finer usually with a light roast and coarser with a medium or darker roast. So these are all things that change. So really changing numbers, especially the Sete line has these shims. Some people are using shims, some people aren't. How seasoned your burrs are, this will change. So numbers are a really bad thing to change with people. Just the numbers that you want to pay attention to is your pressure, your time, your weight. These things are, just you have to dial in, you have to work it out. You can't really use numbers or suggested doses. If it's the Pro, again, I would recommend going as low a dose as you can. So 16 grams should work for you. Maybe 16 to 18, but not more than that. Don't pack it all the way to the top. The more you pack it, like I said earlier, you're going to have more bypass around the sides of the basket because the water's not going to get through the middle of the coffee as easy as it's going to go around the sides. So lower doses always is a good bet, unless you really want to pack it in for more body. I think that's about it. And we've had so many troubles I don't want to keep, I don't want to freeze up. Oh, I froze up again, didn't I? Yep. All right. You can hear me typing. Oh, that's awesome. Well, then at least I'll say goodbye to you all. Thanks for joining. And sorry about the technical difficulties. What I was typing in the chat is if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions on how to improve this situation that is technically minded. I don't know why I'm using OBS to stream and I can see that it's frozen on OBS. And the only thing that seems to work is to restart the devices. So I don't know. Have a good one.